your temperature on the Patriots at this hour. Do you feel this is a make or break week? Meaning, well, that's it. A make or break week for Mac Jones and Bill Belichick.
I do. I feel like it's a make or break week for both of them and a make or break week for the season. I'm someone who's been pointing for a while to this part of the schedule that starts with the Saints, and you have the Saints and the Raiders back to back. And I thought that they could make some hay with this part of the schedule, starting with the Saints between now and basically until you have to play Kansas City in December. That doesn't mean you win all those games. Obviously, Buffalo's on the schedule, Miami too. But if you don't win this one, then you can't do any of the things that I was talking about, or I thought this team could do, and that's this season. And then if you don't win this one, I think it's look out below in terms of the long-term ramifications and all the speculation that goes on about the future of Mac Jones and Bill Belichick. And it struck me this week when I was writing about what happened in Dallas, and obviously there's been a lot of discussion about that all week long by everybody, but it was just so stark watching that game and watching them get blown out. What used to be their advantage was they had the best coach quarterback combination in the league. And now you look at the team and you're not sure they have the right guy in either job moving forward. Do they have the right coach to get them back to contention on a perennial basis? Do they have the right quarterback? And that just really struck me, that was the thing that separated them from everybody else. It's the thing that allowed them to have a parity defying dynasty for 2 decades. And now you look at it and you're not sure in either one of those roles, probably the 2 most important roles for an NFL team, whether they have the proper person in place or they have somebody who's going to be in place next year.
Do you think the job security is a little more immediate for Mac Jones?
Yes, I do, because I also think that factors into Bill. If you're Bill and what happened last year in terms of the way Mac played and that relationship, maybe some of the hits that it took, right? If you're Bill and you're feeling some heat or you're feeling like people are starting to question you, you're not going to let this kid be the one who takes you out, right? You're going to pull every lever you can before it comes crashing down on you. And so I would think that Mac Jones would be the first one to when I say go, I don't mean go off the team. I mean to not be in his job, whether that's benched, whether that's eventually being moved off the team, whatever. But if you're Bill Belichick, you're not going to sit there and say, I'm going down with the Mac Jones ship. I'm going to let Mac Jones take me down. So I think that Mac Jones is the one who's in more immediate danger. And it's interesting when you look at it, right? I mean, this was a tough stretch for them, the first 4 games. And I don't want to overreact to it. And it's hard not to when the 4th game goes the way that it went. But through 4 games, which is basically a quarter of the season, Mac Jones is 25th in the NFL in quarterback rating. Last year, he was 26th in the NFL in quarterback rating. So this claim that they had about Bill O'Brien coming in, and Bill O'Brien's done, I think, really a lot, guys, to try and tailor this offense to Mac Jones. And Mac Jones has 5 touchdown passes and 5 turnovers. That's not going to get it done for him or the team.
So let me just real quick. So Bailey Zappe's in queue.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think that's a possibility if you're Bill, right? Don't you have to pull out all the stops before it comes crashing down on you potentially?
Are we okay to talk about it then?
Yeah, go ahead.
I know I got dumped on quite a bit when we just, we're talking Zappe in August. I want to make sure if it's okay now to sort of bring it up since he played last week. And
yeah, no, absolutely. Feel free to bring up and to rhapsodize the quarterback that they released and let sit on waivers and really weren't that interested in bringing back as the savior. Yeah, go right ahead.
But who might play? Well, I don't know what savior, but who might be the starting quarterback for the New England Patriots?
Yeah, and I think that says, in all seriousness, I mean, what does that say about the state of the team? Again, I mean, the stuff you're saying, Felge, is legitimate. I do think it's legitimate to talk about him. I would also say the stuff I'm saying in terms of this is somebody that they cut, and how many other quarterbacks have they brought in? How many shows do you guys do on Matt Corral and whatever? How many other people have they sort of auditioned? If it gets to the point where what stands between the precipice and going off the cliff and being able to have some sort of season here is Bailey Zappe, then that sort of speaks to where the team is at and the type of planning that they've done or not done to reach this point. I mean, that's scary.
Not done.
Well, I was going to ask you, who was going to be next in line if Mac Jones goes out and has a game like he did in Dallas, and we automatically say Zappe. But did you see what Belichick said about Will Grier today, saying he's picked things up quickly? said he'd be comfortable putting Greer on the field if the team had an emergency situation. Well, is an emergency situation Mac Jones going out and turning the ball over every few plays? So who's it going to be? I mean, it feels like they don't really have an answer there. But if the kid can't play and he keeps turning the ball over, they got to turn to someone. Could he get a look?
I don't think so. I mean, it would feel a little, premature, a little soon, right? You'd think they would go with Zappy first. But again, the fact that, we're going into week 5 and we're talking about, is Mac Jones going to finish this game? I mean, that's not ideal for the Patriots. And I'd say that's also not ideal for ownership too, given how much they trumpeted bringing Bill O'Brien back and what the overall plan for the team, it seemed to be, well, we don't need to go out and get better weapons or go get a number 1 wide receiver. We have Bill O'Brien and we're going to throw him out at the draft party and tell everybody that, that he's here and that's going to change everything. And it hasn't. I think they tried to set it up that way. They really tried to make Mac Jones secure and stable in the job. And they gave him an offensive coordinator who's clearly in his corner, but the team has not been able to get any traction. And that's not all Mac Jones. Again, the weapons are not great. And I know there's been a lot of shuffling on the offensive line, but I also think that he's gone out there and exacerbated that by turning the football over. And the team is not scoring to the level it needs to score to be a competitive team at this point. So, yeah, the fact we're even having this discussion at this point is not good. I can't imagine the Patriots feel great. If you ask them right now, hey, you got to pick up this 5th-year option for Mac Jones, I can't imagine they would feel great about that.
Chris, sorry, Mike.
No, go ahead.
Chris, as we're talking about the tandem, okay, Bill and Mac, and I don't know I'm sure we've had this discussion. I probably just don't remember it. But do you think Belichick wanted Mac Jones when they picked him?
Wanted him? I think he was happy to take him where he took him. I don't think he was like, I don't want this kid on my team at all. But do I think that he went out there and was like, we absolutely have to get him? No, I think it was more other people in the organization saying, we want a quarterback. I think if it had been left up to Bill and if certain people had fallen, if it's easy to say now, but I think even at the time, if Micah Parsons had fallen to them or Elijah Vera Tucker, who's an offensive lineman, and they could have drafted that person and then gotten the quarterback later, I think that would have been plan A for Bill.
Okay. And then I think I know the answer to this, but do you think Bill wanted Billy O'Brien?
I think he was okay with Billy O'Brien, but I think all things being equal, if he could have given Matt Patricia another chance, yeah, that would have been plan A for him. Bringing in Bill O'Brien to me was more ownership than Belichick.
Okay, so here's what I'm getting at, Chris. And I'm sorry, Mike, but here's what I'm getting at, Chris. Is there any way that the failure of the offense and the failure of Mac Jones actually enhances Bill's leverage when it comes to being here longer?
No, you're saying it exonerates him.
Correct.
Yeah, I didn't want this guy. I didn't want Billy O'Brien.
Correct.
This was all your idea.
I think that would be good if you'd look at it and then turn to Bill and say, well, okay, but you had this guy. We went through the Cam Newton season. You brought in Cam. First of all, you told us Jarrett Stidham was good enough to play the position, and he wasn't. And then you brought in, Cam. And then Matt came here and you made the playoffs, and you've been telling us all along that your system works with any of the top 15 quarterbacks. At worst, Mac looked like a top 15 quarterback as a rookie, and then you screwed it all up when you put in Patricia and Joe Judge in charge of him. You messed the kid up, and that's why we had to bring in Bill O'Brien. Maybe you didn't want him, but he was fine, for us to be in the playoffs the first year he was here. And then you went and did this instead of just promoting Nick Caley, and you messed him up. I guess what I'm saying is I don't really think there's an out for Bill here.
Well, I heard something interesting last night. There's a school of thought that remember the draft video when they drafted Mac Jones and Bill went through that show of, Elliot, what do you think? And Fred, I forget who was asking, but whatever. He went around the room with the scouts and Elliot Wolf and Matt Groh and Matt, you good? Elliot, you good? And he made that show. That the reason he did that was, don't look at me. It was all these bozos that wanted this guy. It wasn't me. He wanted to make sure that everyone knew that it wasn't just me asking, it was all these guys that wanted Mac Jones, not me. That was the point of that whole show.
Well, I think the point of that, if you remember, guys, that year leading into the draft, there had been some criticism from Robert Kraft about the draft record. And Robert said, I believe the term was collaborative. Right. They were going to have a more collaborative approach. And of course, that video was released on the team website. So to me, that's a little bit like you guys saying that now is a little bit like when you make fun of the callers who say, "Oh no, this is all part of Belichick's grand plan. He has them right where he wanted to be down 38-3, because he wants people to underestimate his team." I think putting that sort of context to it now is sort of doing what some of the callers do.
Yeah, maybe
that was the owner wanted that video to go the way it went and wanted that draft room to look the way it looked. That wasn't a checkers chess Bill move.
Mm-hmm.